If you're as old as me, and I'm feeling increasingly old, you'll remember that, well, I grew up, that we had about 2 or 3 TV channels, and we'd all go into school the following day, and we'd all watch the same stuff. It was kind of top down. We were told what to watch. We all were able to communicate and connect with that. Today, we've got hundreds of, if not thousands of different channels, lots of different social media. And I guess what I'm concerned about is this little, one little group over here having their own little discussion in the yes camp, one little group over here having a discussion in the no camp. And the idea is, we're not connecting as we possibly should. There has been talk of connection today. It was very interesting to see some common themes coming out in these presentations. And we know that social media can have an impact. There was a well-placed tweet during the Irish presidential election, which arguably altered the course of that election. We know from our work as well, the work that we've been doing, we've been looking at this with school children and also with university students. And we found that the school children are more malleable. They're more likely to moderate their opinions when they are confronted with lots of different types of information. Now, social media is not a bad thing per se. It's also very, very useful. I find it very, very useful to find out sometimes news ahead of you hearing it on news sites. I find out about government, people will provide links to government documents. So there's lots of really, really useful stuff out there. And what we're trying to do with our research is to try and see, we've looked at over 5,000 comments online, and we've tried to pull out some of the pitfalls and things that can go wrong. So let's have a little look at the vitriol that is out there, because there are some things that we're concerned about. So the opening slide there of what we call the flaming keys. So it's hashtag flaming keys. There's kind of I enjoyed getting my little paint set out and painting those little flames for the yes and the no camp. And before I took that photograph, I realized I did really have to clean that keyboard quite a lot, because it wasn't quite as clean as that when I took that photograph. This is how bad some of the stuff gets. And I spent 5 minutes looking during the week on Twitter. I've anonymized these. I'm not interested in who said them. I'm not interested in which side they were from. I'm just interested in showing you that it can get bad out there. And this is the kind of stuff that is out there. Now, this is on kind of a more free site where there's less moderation. On a moderated site, it can still be pretty bad. A little bit more humor here, arguably, but still not very nice at all. I mean, there are some really good ones out there as well, but this is not very nice, if we're honest. It's anti-Scottish, and it's humorous, but it's not very nice. And what we came up with was a series of teaching exercises that we took into the classroom to get people to think critically about social media and how to engage with it and how to go online and interact. So there are several exercises designed to get people to look out for things. And then I suddenly thought, why are we just doing this for the classroom? Because if we actually look at what's going on online, it seems to me that everybody should know about this information. And what I'm trying to do is get across this message. And the reason I wanted to do TEDx was to get this out. And this isn't just about the Scottish referendum. This is important whether it's Democrats versus Republicans in America. Anywhere where there are political differences of opinion, we need to think about some of the things that I'm going to tell you about before we go online. So I'm going to start with tweeting. And this happens probably now during the day. We've not been drinking, we're in a fairly good mood, and everything is cogent, and it's all going along quite nicely. It's not going too badly. This was an observation we very quickly formed when we were looking at what data to pick and what data to analyze. And we realized that the longer the evening went on, the more loose people got with their vocabulary and the more they engaged in tipsy tweeting. I am guilty of many of these things I am going to show you today. We're all human beings. Tipsy tweeting, I am very dreadful at this one. I'll be tweeting during the day, and you'll be posting things on Facebook, and I'll have a beer, and I just want to know about my notifications. It's, you've got to go check on Twitter. What has anyone retweeted? I hope you're retweeting me now. So I want to know about my notifications. I'm absolutely desperate to see if anyone likes what I'm doing. If they don't like me, do I need to find more friends? Do I need to take better photographs, say better things? You get kind of a little bit, it all gets wrapped up, and you have to take care. So it's there in the amber warning color of tipsy tweeting. Please do take care. We've all probably done this. I'm sure you can all, many of you can register with this. The one you should probably disconnect the phone so there's 3 types of tweeting. We've gone from tweeting to tipsy tweeting to tanked tweeting. So we can do hashtag tipsy tweeting, hashtag tanked tweeting. This really, just keep your phone on for emergency purposes, probably get in a taxi or just turn it off and go to bed. Hopefully I've not had too many of these occasions, but there are those occasions where you wake up the following day and you go, well, what did I really reply to that person, and was it what I hoped I had done? I hope I haven't put my foot in it. So the big picture message that I want you to take home, one of them, is don't drink and digit. Yeah, we've got don't drink and drive, we've got don't drink and dial. This is don't drink and digit. The research that we've done helped us inspire these 5 F's to avoid, which we put together as a series of teaching exercises, but I want to communicate those to you now. The first one we've come across before is the foul. So the first F to avoid is the foul. And this one, we've looked at people's reactions to these different posts, and when it's really foul, it really winds people up. It gets people agitated and polarized, and people spin into these kind of, it can get quite nasty. So avoid being foul is our one piece of main advice. The second one is the false category, and these examples are examples. So the Scots are anti-English. That is an example of a fallacious post. You might find 1 or 2 people, or you might come across one person who is that way. You can't then aggregate that up to 5.3 million people and say they're all like that. And the same is true of the English. You can't come across one English person you dislike and then say that they're all like that. So the English can't accept other opinions. You might find one English person or a couple of English people who can't do that, but it's not all of them, okay? So we need to move on beyond that. And it's the kind of classic. The other things in terms of false. Now, whenever I'm on an airplane, I always like, when the stewards and the stewardesses are asked to cross-check. So you've got to go across and check the doors this way, yeah? And then they swap sides and they cross-check the other side. This is kind of what we advise doing, is that you should cross-check your information. So you might find something that's really juicy, and you think, I'm going to retweet that, but cross-check with the other side or triangulate with other different news sources to see what different people are saying about that particular point, to see how much resonance or truth there is in it. It's also very, very easy to write a false tweet or a false post because we're being encouraged to condense this into 140 characters or a few words. Some of the most interesting things I've seen are people who they go up to their word limit and then they finish point 1 and then they repost another comment with point 2 and they write their essay across. They're using the rules quite intriguingly. But look out for false posts. It's very, very easy to fall in that trap. The next one, I had a researcher from Ireland and he said, Mark, what does we mean? And you've got to be careful we all know it means little Alex, and in reference to, often used in reference to Alex Salmond, but a lot of people, when that is mentioned, who might be communicating from England or from Wales, they might not know what this term means, and so therefore they are confused. I come up with plenty of words that are foggy, but they're just for my own little subgroup of people who I'm trying to amuse. I think there's 1 or 2 of them in here. I use when something is about 90% fabulous, but about 10% delinquent. I call it fabulinquent. And so there are little words that I create just for my little friend's amusement, but when I'm trying to communicate with other people, I'll try and haul those back and make sure that I'm not using fabulinquent, okay? I think that should be a word. There's plenty of other ones that you can come up with. The next one, hopefully I'm not guilty of this, is flannel, probably am, but it's where someone goes on and they post the same thing over and over. They keep nitpicking and making the same point, or they don't really add to the debate. And these are often the first people who, what they'll do is they'll say, right, that's it, I'm off. I'm never coming back. I'm never going to talk again on this site. And then about 2 posts later, they're back. And they're saying the same thing, and they just won't shut up. So do think about making your points concisely, and do think about the irritation of multiple posts. I always think that when I'm posting on Facebook, thinking, have I really done too many pictures today? There's kind of that built-in mechanism on your phone where 3 pictures suddenly alters how they look, and that's probably enough, and you probably shouldn't post anymore. The last one I'd like to cover is flaming. I probably flame a little bit with fabulinquent, but here's an example with more pandas in the zoo, in Edinburgh Zoo, than Tory MPs. So here is a case of somebody, and they've been flaming. Flaming refers to when something is uppercase, so lots of kind of shouty uppercase language, or multiple question marks, multiple exclamation marks. And there's kind of a theory out there that once you get up to about 5 exclamation marks, you might be wearing your underpants on your head, that kind of thing. So just look out for flaming and going over the top, because it can wind people up. You also need to think about using words like lol as well, because lol can mean laugh out loud to many people, but it also means lots of love to some people. So if someone has just died, you do not want to be sending them a message with lol, where they think it means laugh out loud and you meant lots of love. So be very, very careful if you're flaming. The big picture message I want to get out there is, we're not on this planet long, and we've all got to live together, and no matter what happens, let's just focus on some of the issues, let's focus on some of the theories and practices, and focus on the pros and cons of those, and let's not let it get personal. We often see a lot of attacks on politicians, on institutions, political parties. I don't think that's particularly productive. Let's focus on what they're trying to get across. Everyone's trying to design a better Scotland or a better world, as far as I can see it. They've just got a different route to that better Scotland or better world. And it's up to us to make a decision as to which way we want to choose that. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Cheers.